Good evening and welcome to the NDTV Dialogues. Tonight we focus on an issue that has increasingly been dominating our headlines. Communalism, the rise in communal violence in the run-up to the 2014 elections. Riots for votes, divide and rule. What are the real factors at play here? How has the Indian polity dealt with communalism in the years after partition? What have we actually learnt? And what are the mistakes that we keep repeating again and again? Joining me tonight on this, Professor Rajmohan Gandhi, Professor Achyut Yagnik, Professor J.S. Rajput and Sudhindra Kulkarni. Dr. Gandhi, thank you very much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
As we speak, we know of course that many thousands of people are still in refugee camps created after the Muzaffarnagar riots. And in your new book, really you discuss what happened, the violence leading up to partition, during partition. Do you see any parallels with what's playing out here in the India of 2013?
Yes, the stark reality of 1946-47 was the polarization that had taken place. And the inflammatory rhetoric from both sides is what played a large part in the terrible killings that took place. So certainly in some parts, I've not been to Muzaffarnagar myself, but from what I hear, polarization has taken place there too. And people are in refugee camps, several people were killed. And so we have to learn from the past. So there's no doubt that we have to find a way out of this polarization. India is a country for everybody. Perhaps we should also, I don't know whether now or at some point, I would like also to refer to the extremism in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the victims there, especially in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, are these courageous Muslims who want Muslim-Hindu friendship, who want Pakistan-Hindu friendship. These are the followers of Badshah Khan, whom we all love as Frontier Gandhi. 800 of them were killed in the last few years, the Awami National Party leaders and workers. And these people are facing up to communalism and extremism in Pakistan with incredible courage. Recently also, these people have been killed. There's this Mia Iftikhar Hussain, who was the information minister in the ANP government. His son was killed, but he's fearlessly tackling communalism and extremism. I feel that if we are discussing communalism in India, we should also widen our view a bit and recognize the amazing heroism of these people in Pakistan who are standing up to extremism and violence and communalism in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Kulkarni, if you could pick up on that thought, when we look at parallels but also at the many differences, we've seen recent works that talked about the fact that perhaps riots would not happen in modern day India with the growing economic welfare, and especially in rural India. They said that it's rare to see riots occur here. What's your analysis of what actually happened in Muzaffarnagar, and not just that, but also the rise in incidents that we're seeing reported in different states, many say in the lead up through the elections?
What happened in Muzaffarnagar is most certainly reprehensible. But I think that we should understand the issue of communalism and communal violence in a broader and more historical context. Mm-hmm. We must understand what has happened in a long history to know what is happening today. And since today's discussion is in the context of the book written by Shri Rajmohan ji on Punjab, I think that the history of Punjab, the very tragic history of Punjab, has many lessons for us to understand what's happening and how to overcome today's challenges of communalism. I'm really struck by what he says, towards the very end of his remarkable book. For tomorrow's sake, can we learn from yesterday? This is the challenge we are facing. I believe that the great heroes of Punjab have a lot to teach us. The first hero, of course, was Guru Nanak. The second hero, as he has so very lucidly explained, the second great hero of Punjab was Bulle Shah, the great Sufi poet. Mm-hmm. The third hero of the more recent history is Mahatma Gandhi. And I want to read one particular small passage which goes to the heart of what we are discussing, even in the context of Muzaffarnagar. Gandhiji's assassination in 1948 by extremist Hindus on 30th January 1948 in New Delhi affected both Punjabs, that is west as well as east, that is of course in India. Each one of us, and this is said by a Muslim leader, Mian Iftikharuddin, he says, each one of us who has raised his hand against innocent men, women and children during the past months, who has publicly or secretly entertained sympathy for such violent acts, is a collaborator in the murder of Mahatma Gandhi. So, if we want to stop communal violence today, we must really purge ourselves of communal thinking, communal feelings, and replace them with love, concord, understanding. And that is the great learning from this book.
I think we all share that, but it's actually a wonderful angle to bring in Dr. Rajput on, because really the history that we read in books like this and the history that is taught in our textbooks, and we've seen that you of course face that charge of communalizing education when you were a director of NCERT in the textbooks, and the kind of history that's taught to our children. Moving beyond that even, because you've then had a UPA regime and 10 years of their textbooks, and I'm sure charges back and forth on whether they're desaffronizing or how they're coloring their textbooks. But the issue of the history we teach our children, that when we talk about removing communal thoughts and violence, it actually has to start from childhood. How do we actually see that happen? Why is it that education is also such a volatile tool in this?
You see, what Mr. Kulkarni has said, we have to find out solutions. After all, you learn from the past experience and you find solutions. And to find solutions on the long-term basis, you have to go to schools, colleges, universities, you have to go to education.